My name is ELISE Nelson, and I help tech challenge makers build a profitable e-commerce brand. Thanks for joining me on my YouTube channel, where I offer lessons that are 15 minutes or less to help you grow your e-commerce shop. Alright, so we are going to jump right into checking if you have Google Analytics 4 already on your site. And then I'm going to show you how to install it, how to update it, and get it installed so that you're ready and you can start collecting data immediately so that when this transition happens in July of 2023, you are not stuck without your analytics data. So the very first thing you want to do is you want to check and make sure that if you have the analytics blocking extension, that it is not currently blocking data to this site. So it's saying analytics is not blocked. If it says that your analytics is blocked, there's a check mark here, then you want to click on it and uncheck it so that we can actually get analytics data while we're doing this test. If you do not know what I'm talking about, I have another video in this series that talks about how to block your analytics data, and I show you a Chrome extension you can use to do that so that you are not impacting the numbers on your Google Analytics data. But for today, we want to talk about seeing if you have GA4. So once you have made sure you're not blocking your data, you're going to want to use the Tag Assistant Legacy version by Google. It's again a Chrome extension, and we are going to reload our site to make sure that we're tracking data. Then we're going to click on that Chrome extension and we are going to enable it. And then we are going to reload our site again. Now, once we have done that, we should start getting some data here. So when I click this opened, you're going to see the results of the tags. And you can see I have an AdWords account here that's showing up. And then I have a remarketing tag that is showing up. And then I have a Google Analytics tag that is showing up. And on this Google Analytics tag, you can see it says UA. And that means this is a universal analytics property. If you have one that shows up and it starts with a G, that means you have Google Analytics 4 already installed. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily working in its entirety, but you have already set up that property. So I do not have any that say G on them, which means that I do not currently have a Google Analytics 4 property. So this is one way to make sure where you're at on your Google Analytics 4 journey. If one shows up with a G, you have some type of account already set up, and we'll want to test that and see whether it's completely functioning or if you still need to do a few steps. Okay, so there's a second way that we can check and see if we have a Google Analytics 4 account, and that is by going to our analytics account and clicking right here and seeing what we have. So you can see here I have MyScheduledBiz account. My property says UA, and just like before, that means it's a universal analytics account. If there was a second property that said G, that would mean that I had a Google Analytics 4 account. So as long as it has this UA, that's Universal Analytics. And then also Universal Analytics accounts will have an account, a property, and a view. So there'll be 3 columns. If it is a Google Analytics account, you will only have an account and a property. So you will not have 3 columns. Now there is a potential that you may have additional rows in like the view or the properties or even the accounts. And if it's in the accounts, that means you have multiple different brands that are set up on your Google Analytics. Properties and views I see get duplicated a lot with my clients, and most of the time they don't know which one is the most accurate. If that happens to you, click on each one and look at it, compare the same time period, and see if they have the same information coming through. More often than not, multiples of them will have no data coming in, or they're set up in such a way that they're only getting data from one page on your site or something like that. Typically, the one that says all website data is the one that is your original, that will have all the data coming into your website. That is not always the case, but most of the time that is. So you want to go to the correct view. So you're going to click on the view for the one that you want to actually install your Google Analytics 4 account. Now, before we jump into the rest of the lesson, please like this video. Be sure to subscribe and sign up for notifications so that you don't miss any of my videos that are 15 minutes or less to help you grow your e-commerce shop. Now we are going to open our Universal Analytics account, like I just said, and we are going to go into admin, which is here at the bottom. If this is collapsed, you may just see this little gear icon. We want to go to admin, and then we are going to go to our property column. So you can see this is the property column. So just like we saw up here, we've got our account, our property, and our view. You're in a property column, and then you want to click on the GA4 Setup Assistant. Once we click on that, it's going to either say that you have something connected, which we already checked this, so you shouldn't, or it's going to say that you need to create a Google Analytics 4 property. So we're just going to click on the Get Started button to create our property. If you have a Universal Analytics account that is currently using GTag, which we could have seen back here, right here, do you see it says GTag? That tells me that I'm using the GTag type of tagging coding for Google. So if your site has that, when you go to set this up, you will have this option that says Enable Data Collection using your existing global site tags, and you will be able to click it. But that is only if it is on your Google Analytics. Do you see how this is actually my AdWords account is using GTag? My Google Analytics account is not using GTag. Otherwise it would say gtag.js, just like this one does. And so when I'm here, it's not going to let me select this Enable Data Collection. Now, you can enable data collection using your existing global site tags. What this means, if you are using GTag on your Google Analytics property now, it will just send that same data over to your Google Analytics 4 property. The problem with this is that the Google Analytics 4 property uses different coding than Universal Analytics. So several of the things you might want to track may not actually get tracked. So sometimes I see this and sales data will not be sent through. For me personally, I would recommend not using this unless you really just don't want to get into the setup of a Google Analytics 4 property. You can always test this out and see if all the data comes through. And if it does, then you're great. If it doesn't, you can always reset this and make a new Google Analytics 4 property that does not enable data collection, so you can get everything from scratch. On Shopify right now, they're leaving up the Universal Analytics data, so you probably would be okay to do this, but just be careful. That's all I'm saying. So you probably won't be able to enable data collection if you're using the Shopify store. So then we're just going to go ahead and click Create Property, and you can see it says our Google Analytics 4 property setup assistant, it is connected, and it says you can go to your Google Analytics 4 property. We are still currently in our main account right here. So now it says it's connected, so we're going to click on Go to your Google Analytics 4 property. All right, so now that we are on our Google Analytics 4 property, you can see it says it is connected to DevilClip. So we now have DevilClip-GA4, that is our new Google Analytics property. It even says, this is your new Google Analytics 4 property. You connected Universal Analytics property remains unchanged. And if you click here, it'll take you back to the Universal Analytics property. So we're actually going to go ahead and jump into our data streams. So over here on the left column, you can see data streams. We're going to open that. And then we're going to open this stream. And you can see data collection isn't active. That's because we haven't done anything to activate it yet. And then we're going to click down below where it says more tagging settings. And so we're going to do some setup first before we actually install this. So we want to list unwanted referrals. And the reason we're going to do this is because there are certain pages that you will go to and they will show up as referrals on your website, even though they're not actually referrals. So this is going to be things like MyShopify.com, because what will happen is they will show up as a referral because we won't have a code on the actual checkout page. And so we don't want that. We want to only have referrals show up for things that are actually referrals. This will also happen if you use a payment gateway like PayPal or Stripe. Sometimes you'll get referrals that say they're coming from PayPal, but really they were just going through your checkout. So we want to set this to referral domain contains, and we're going to do myshopify.com. And then we're going to add a second condition, and that is going to be for PayPal.com. And then I'm going to add a third condition, and that is going to be for Stripe.com. Now, if you use a different payment provider, you can put in yours as well. We want it to say referral domain contains. That's what we're looking for on all of these. Then we're going to hit save. Then we're going to X out of this. Do you see right here where it says enhanced measurement? We want to make sure this is checked on. Then we're going to click on settings and make sure all of these are turned on as well. We're going to save that. It should automatically be turned on, but we want to make sure that that is turned on. Now we are going to open up the global site tag gtag.js, which we've talked about several times before. We're going to copy this site. We're going to hit Control Copy. You can also just click this little link to copy it. And then we are going to go to our website. So here we are in the website. You're going to go into Online Store, Actions, Edit Code, and we want to go into our theme.liquid file, which is under the Layout folder. And what we are going to do is we are going to find, you can either scroll and look for it, or you can hit Control F or Command F if you're on Mac, and you're going to type in head, like so. And it'll take you to the end of the header code. And we want to paste this that we just got just above this. So I'm going to hit home right in front of this and hit enter and include a few returns. And then I'm going to hit Control V to paste. And so now I am entering my global site tag information into the theme file of my brand, of my website. So I'm going to click on Save, like so. And now that global site tag has been installed. And now that means that every single page that anyone lands on my site, I should get data over to Google Analytics. So now we are going to go back to Google Analytics 4, and we are in our data stream already, and we want to copy this measurement ID, okay? And then I have a code that you're going to be able to use to put onto the confirmation page after someone checks out that will send sales data over to Google Analytics, because right now it's not going to get sales data. So what you're going to do is you are going to go into this code, you're going to find the two places where it says G-example, and you're going to replace those with that measurement ID. So I went ahead and replaced that with the measurement ID. I'm going to do the same thing here. And you can see that that code now has my measurement ID in it. We're going to select the whole thing and copy it. Control copy. And then we are going to go back to our website, and we are going to go to Settings, Checkout. We're going to scroll down to where we see Order Status Page Additional Scripts. And we are going to actually just paste this code right in here and then hit Save. So once we have saved the two different codes in those two different places, we should now start getting data into Google Analytics. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and go back to our site, and we should still have Tag Assistant Legacy going. So we're going to go ahead and start browsing around your site and clicking on buttons and doing things so that we can see if this is working. All right, so let's see. So it is showing the global site tag right here. You can see that G. So that is a really good sign. It's saying that it should be sending over, because I've got this one that says G. G, G. So as long as you have that one that says G on it, then you're good to go. So we're going to go ahead and say that that is probably working, but we're going to go ahead and double check in Google Analytics 4. So I'm going to close out of what I was before, and we're going to go to Home. And it should show there we go. Do you see how that updated? Now it says data collection is active. And I look over here and it says users in the last 30 minutes, and it's showing me that someone has actually done something. That's what we want to see. So this is coming through to Google Analytics. The tagging also on my extension is showing that it's coming through. So that's great. So now what we want to do is we want to actually check out on the site, because we want to make sure that this is actually working all the way through and that we're going to get sales data. So I'm going to go ahead and go and purchase an item on the site, and I'm just going to add it to cart, and I'm going to go to checkout. And then I'll enter my information and I'll go ahead and check out. So I'm going to use PayPal. Okay, so now I've landed on the confirmation page. You can see the order is confirmed. It says that I got this gift card, and it says that it went through. All right, so here we are. We're going to go ahead and double check our analytics. You can see it still shows that I have a user. If I click on View Real Time, it'll actually take me to where I can see my conversion events, and it's loading. Give it just a second. You can see it is showing a purchase conversion. And so this is showing me that yes, in fact, my purchases are working. It's showing me that I had page views, user engagements, all sorts of things, first sessions. So this is telling me all my events that are happening, and I've got purchase and scroll. So I am getting a purchase conversion. I am getting a purchase event. And so that's what we want to double check. As long as you're getting those purchases, then you are good to go. Go ahead and leave your Universal Analytics property running so that you can use both of these at the same time. And when they make the final transition over to Google Analytics 4 in July of 2023, you will be able to continue collecting data for Google Analytics 4. Let's go ahead. We have a few more steps that I want to show you that we're going to double check and make sure everything is working the way that it needs to. So we're going to go into our Google Analytics. We're going to go back to admin. We're going to go into property and we are going to go to set up assistant. Then we want to turn on Google Signals. So we're going to click on that action, manage Google Signals. And Google Signals is a way to get additional data collection. We're going to go ahead and click on get started and we're going to say continue and we're going to say activate. Make sure that this granular location and device collection is turned on. Is one last thing, you're going to acknowledge that you're collecting data. We're going to scroll down here under product links and you'll want to connect any products that you have. So for example, Google Ads, BigQuery, Merchant Center, any of these can be connected right here, Search Console. So make sure you connect those, that way all of your accounts are connected. And that is everything there is for setting up your Google Analytics 4 account. Congratulations, you have in fact connected your Google Analytics 4. You are getting sales data and all of your page view visits. So congratulations.